All right, welcome in. We're back at We Are Soccer midweek show. We're having a little fun. We're talking about the U.S. men's national team, the fall October roster, and the games that are coming up. We're talking about the two European games that have been scheduled to be played here in the USA, the European League games that are going to be scheduled to be talking about here, and special topic, we're talking about Ruben Amorim, Jim Ratcliffe, and Manchester United. And I'm going to put my thoughts to it, and we'll go from there. All right, let's jump in.
What? And I'm going to give you one opportunity because we're friends.
Winner! Who gives a shit about where the Bulls pitch?
Yeah, F him. They went from loving this guy, best move ever, to hating him.
I think it's the most ridiculous thing in the world.
I love it because it tells you how the game was played.
There's nowhere for him to go. I think there's one place.
You can't do that in the national team. Do I look like I'm freaking kidding?
Those things that are absolutely insane.
Successful and sexy? No. It wasn't aggravating at times? Yes.
Sorry,
That's not very fair.
It's not about being fair.
Welcome to the greatest soccer show ever.
All right, friends, welcome in. Today we're joined by a special guest, Dylan from the C.O.C network. Dylan, I've watched a couple of videos. I really like what you guys got going on. Let's talk soccer, but tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about the C.O.C network. I'm excited you're here with us, man.
Yeah, excited to be here. This has been a long time coming with you guys being in and out of your studio and trying to figure it all out. We had Brooks on our channel talking about the MLS. And so I'm happy to be here. But a little bit about us, C.O.C network. We have two podcasts. We talk about the Premier League on one with me, my buddy Mila, and my buddy Grant. We all went to college together and we all hate each other's guts. And we all support different teams. So we talk Prem there. I'm a United fan, so I'll be excited to talk about Amorim and the Ratcliffe stuff a little later. But other than that, we have our second podcast, which is Classic Cosmos. We're big Galaxy guys, which sucks. You can tell I enjoy pain and misery a little bit by the teams that I support. But we just run through being a fan channel and enjoying soccer in every way we can, both here domestically or abroad in Europe. So that's what we do, and happy to be here.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you for joining us. I do want to say, listen, this year, not so good for the Galaxy. Last year, though,
yeah.
I mean, you can't argue with that. That was awesome. But from going to the best to the worst, like, holy moly, like, that's incredible.
It's brought a lot of painful podcasts and a lot of painful rants from myself. So I chose to use, to make a podcast about the team I love in the year where they decided to be potential wooden spoon winners instead of the year where they were champions. So that's smart.
That's I got nothing for you there, man, but it's pretty funny. And you got a little pain and suffering on the other side as well. Manchester United, they're not quite what they once were. A lot of us, myself included, are enjoying that.
Yeah, you should.
But we'll get to that. All right, we'll get to that. What I do want to talk with you about, and by the way, before we really jump in, friends, followers, fans, do me a favor. Give the C.O.C network a follow. Give a couple of views to their stuff. I guarantee you'll like it. We'd very much appreciate it. All right, let's jump in. Let's talk about that U.S. men's national team roster that just dropped this past week. This awesome graphic put together by Brooks. Well done, Brooks. All right, Dylan, I want your take on it. What are your thoughts on this roster? What are you thinking? What were you thinking when this dropped? And you're all right, who's here? Who's missing? Who should have been included? What are your thoughts, bud?
A little more normal. I was excited by this roster, and I think me and Brooks have talked about it quite a bit. This is a 3-back. This is a 5-back, 3-back, however you want to push it. And I think that's the way to go. I loved the direction at the end of the last camp in terms of being direct, going in the 3-back, and honestly just utilizing our best players and their strengths positions. I know we're going to talk about Pulisic a little bit, but him as a second striker is pretty good. And putting Chris Richards in a spot where he can be the central center back or the right center back, because I think there will be that discussion. I'm not exactly sure where he's going to fit, but putting your best players in their best positions is what excited me the most about this roster.
I love that. It was almost like a revelation in that South Korea game where Pochettino had to change something up, and he went to that 3-back system because he was losing the midfield so badly in that game. And it was like, wait a minute, this is working. This is great. And now he's almost based this roster, you're right, around that. This is a 3-back system. I am not a 3-back system guy. That is not my thing. I'm a 4-4-2, staunch old school 4-4-2, but it works for this team, and I think it can work in certain games. And I think the 2 games coming up here, Ecuador and Australia, is a great test for the World Cup, because ultimately that's what this is for. It's for World Cup 2026 in the summer, which we're coming up to. So I think it's a great test. I really like that you said that. You're right, it is. And Pulisic, listen, he's our guy. We got to keep him healthy. He's having a hell of a year. But what else on this roster besides him coming back and patching up the little tiff that he had with Pochettino? What else do you like about this?
Oh, what do I like about it? I think that our position groups that we're the most skilled in are wide forwards and our fullbacks. So I'm honestly excited to see Jedi Robinson in his side. I'm excited to see where, honestly, and I put it down as a question because I want to ask you guys. I think Tim Weah has to be in the side. I just don't know where. And Tillman's another guy that's been playing really well, both club and country, clearly trusted by Pochettino. So if he's in the right 10 and you've got Pulisic in the left 10, where does that leave Weah? And is that right wing back? He did that at Juventus. He's not doing that at Marseille. But is that the best way forward for this team? I'm not sure. So I think I'm just excited by the number of different options with some of the best talent that we have. In terms of things that I'm disappointed with, I don't think I have any. I like everybody who made the roster, and I like the MLS guys that made the roster. Roll Don's had a great year. I think the idea of people getting outraged by him him being in this side is ludicrous to me. Because if you've watched him play all season, he's been one of the best midfielders in the league all year. So,
all right, I love that. Brooks, jump in. I want you to talk about Weah and where you see him fitting in, because I know you've got a lot of thoughts on things. Like that.
I mean,
it's a great point by Dylan, by the way.
It was, yeah. And listen, Dylan's right. He's played as a wing back. Marseille, he's used him as a left back in a 4-back system. He's been a winger. I mean, I think the one question I had a little bit with how they were playing, and he was, in that South Korea game is, if he's going to play as a winger and he's going to check into the half space, he's got to make sure he can play back to goal, because Tim Ream or the center back, whoever's playing on the ball, he's got to hold it up, and he's got to make sure he can get that, you can bounce it to a midfielder, you can turn and play forward. You got to make sure you can do that, because when teams are pressing you, if you turn the ball over, it's just another amount of defending you have to do again. And that's the thing is our really only true, forward, if you want to talk about someone that can only hold the ball up, is a guy like Ajiman, Balogun can, and obviously Sargent. But we just don't kind of have like that true, like old school number 9 where it's back to goal. You can flick on and play and I'm curious if, when you get Ajiman playing with Pulisic and Weah, or Zendejas, or Haji Wright's the center, the center for the 9, are they going to try playing long a little more and flicking the ball in behind for Pulisic? I think you have to experiment with these things and understand when you need to pivot in games and when you can dominate with possession and when you kind of need to do a little old school stuff the U.S. men's national team used to do, which was very much counterattacking, lop it forward, flick on, and, press them, to make sure they can't get out easily. And, but this is an interesting group. James Sands back in here. Does he play in the back 3? Is he a 6? He has versatility. Adam Morris, I'm interested to see him. Is it going to be him and McKennie next to each other? Is it Aiden Tanner Tessman? You can even throw Tanner Tessman, I think, in the back line in a 3-back system, to be honest with you, because he's a very good passer of the ball. So, and then obviously the wing backs with Jedi Robinson, like you said, Dylan, that's a good one. We'll see Miles Robinson probably maybe play a little bit there. Freeman, I think Freeman's best as a wing back. And then the goalkeeper situation. Do Freeze and Turner split time, or is this Freeze's team to be? You know what I mean? Is he not necessarily secured the job, but is he the favorite going into stuff? And then, in reality, is January camp when someone else maybe gets a shot to do something. So I'm curious how they're going to rotate the keepers, but it's a very good roster. And like you said, there's a lot of different guys that can change different positions and play different positions and be successful,
Yeah, and listen, here are the 2 games that are coming up. Obviously, Ecuador, Australia coming up here in a couple of days. These are big games. Dylan, what are your thoughts on the games? Are results important Or are we going to go with the South Korea, Japan games and say it's more about the development, it's more about the cohesion and where people play and how the coaching staff is looking at 2026 World Cup and seeing what they can and can't do? Is it more that, or has it gotten to the point where we know that, but now we got to start putting results together and getting the crowd and the fans on our side?
Yeah, good question. A little bit of both. I would like to see results. At the end of the day, it's a results-based business. And while it's good to see progression and the team come together and form, ultimately, we as a nation and the federation has kind of slow built everything for some reason, leading into the most important World Cup potentially in the nation's history.
Yep.
So I do think you need positive momentum in terms of results leading up to that point. Obviously, there is a decent sum of games left before then. So I'm not like living and dying by us getting results against Ecuador and Australia, but it would be nice. It would be nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, both.
It just helps. It helps if the team and Pochettino go, okay, this is our plan, and we need to make sure we win. And we put that plan together. We play some nice football, and then come out and win those games. And everybody goes, okay, the coaching staff got to see what they wanted to see. The players bought in. We got some nice wins against some decent teams. All right, this is going in the right direction. Instead of every single former player and pundit, that includes us, going, what happened? How come we lost 2-0? How come we were outshot? How come it didn't work? You just want to see it all fit together. So, and like I always say, even with the youth, I hate to bring the youth soccer piece into it, but we all know that coaches say, oh, it's about development. It's not about winning or losing. Yeah, there is something to be said about winning as part of the development, right? And that even is here in adult professional World Cup type teams. Yep. So winning does really matter. But you're right. Is it all about winning in these games? No. But some of it has to be there. I want to go back to the roster real quick. I do want to throw 2 or 3 thoughts your way. I personally am very happy to see Jamie Sands back in here. I think he is a heck of a player, and I think he can do a job, not as a starter, but coming off the bench in certain games in the World Cup. I love that Aiden Morris is here, plays for Middlesbrough, or as Nate and Brooks say, Middlesbrough. I love that Aiden Morris is here. I got to be honest, I hope he gets a shot because I think he is – honestly, I think he can be better than Diego Luna. Mm-hmm. But that's an unpopular opinion because everybody's bought in on Diego Luna at the moment. Now, I'm a fan of Diego Luna. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a great player. I love the fact that he's there. But I think Aiden Morris offers something a little bit faster, quicker, and going forward. And I like that Haji Wright is back in. He's scoring goals, and he's doing the job. And, hey, it shows that, you know what, score goals for your club no matter what league will get you in here. So just some of my thoughts right off the bat there.
Yeah, I think like with the midfielders, I think the 3 in competition. So if it's Luna, Tillman, and Brendan Aronson. With Aronson, you can play him out wide as a tucked-in winger if you want to. But, I think Tillman obviously is the lead runner in that one, and Luna and Aronson are kind of fighting for spots. And Aiden Morris, McKennie, Roldan, and Tessman to a certain extent, and Sands, are very similar guys that are probably going to play those 2 holding positions. So, but again, Sands can play in the back line if needed. So can Tanner Tessman. So that's the interesting part. Some pundits have said, is Weston McKennie a for sure starter? And I don't think he's a for sure starter. I think he's playing. I think Tyler Adams is for sure one of the midfielders. The question is who's going to play next to him. And, Weston McKennie's done well at Juventus. Has he been most consistent? Not always, but he does make plays and he scores goals. And you're starting for your top end club in Europe in Serie A, which is going to play Champions League soccer and play at the highest level in Europe. So, but I think it's anyone's game. I think Pochettino has just said, listen, here are all the top guys this time and maybe in the next camp, and you got to fight it out. You got to earn it. And there's no favoritism. I think there was a little favoritism with Berhalter. There's no favoritism this time. There's no attachment Pochettino has to any of these players. So, and I think that's the great part about this with him being the national team coach is there'll be a fair assessment from him and his staff with all the players.
You mentioned top players. we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Mr. Christian Pulisic. The guy is absolutely having a worldy season right now over at AC Milan. Brooks, I know you've got some stats to kick up here on how many games and goals. He did miss a penalty the other day, and a couple of people are like, oh my God, is that going to deflate his season? No, man, one missed penalty isn't going to deflate his season. The guy is on a roll right now. Dylan, have you been keeping tabs with him? Have you watched any of the AC Milan games? And then I want you to answer that, but then I'm going to put a real tough question to you. Is Pulisic the best player America has ever produced? Answer that one last.
Yeah. Wow. I keep tabs on only Christian Pulisic in Serie A. I really, style of play wise, Italian football is not for me. It's a little too slow.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I've been saying that for years.
It kills me. I turn on a match and I'm like, I could go to sleep. I'm good. But he's lighting it up. And I don't think that was a shock to me when he made the move to AC Milan, because at Chelsea, he was really good. Just no manager could ever get him healthy enough for a long enough stint for him to really stick. But he's a fantastic footballer. I mean, and to answer the second question, yeah, I don't even think it's close, to be completely honest with you. I just think that he's been asked to do so much since he was, 16, 17?
Yeah.
That the public view on him has kind of wavered. And like this summer has an effect on people's thoughts of him as well, because he didn't show up for the Gold Cup.
Yep.
But he's the best thing I think he's the best thing that's happened to the Federation. We've just been unlucky with the people at the helm, unfortunately.
Could you imagine if he didn't exist right now, where we'd be? We would be looking at 2026 going, what are we going to do? We just have an average team of some good players.
Yeah.
This is the guy that can make a difference. This is the guy that can step in, score goals, propel the team forward. He's Landon Donovan, Clint Dempsey combined, in my opinion. He is that good. And he's a silent, quiet type leader. So I'm in agreement with you. I think he's the best player to be produced by the U.S. I think he's the keys to us going forward in the World Cup and doing well. God, we can only hope he stays healthy through this season at AC Milan.
Yeah,
and then
fingers crossed
this summer. Yeah, fingers crossed for sure. All right. Any last thoughts on the U.S. men's national team and the upcoming games, boys, before we move on to the next topic?
Yeah,
just don't get smoked, right?
Yeah, go ahead, Del. Yeah.
I know. I was just gonna say, just don't get smoked, and I'll be all right. Go ahead, Brooks.
Yeah. I mean, listen, like, I would like to see them win one of these games pretty handedly, whether that's Australia and Ecuador. I feel like, listen, the Australians, when they're qualifying and, and their stuff over with Japan and everyone, that's not an easy place to qualify. That's a difficult time and to qualify and get in. So, and their standings over there and the Asian qualifiers, they sit second in their group C at 19 points, Japan with 23, Saudi Arabia is right behind them. So, you got South Korea, you got, Iran's been in the World Cup, you got a bunch of different ones of good quality national teams that qualify over there. So people shouldn't look at Australia as like a weak match, and they may play more direct than maybe Ecuador. But, Ecuador is going to be a physical opponent. So is Australia. You're going to have to learn how to deal with it. And it's a friendly, but you're going to get kicked. You're going to, this will be treated, I feel like, as not just like everyone's playing soft. There's going to be guys probably laying the tackles a bit here. So, like, I would just like to see them win one comfortably. And then if they need to draw or come back or something, or, maybe have a sloppy first half, and then they pick it up in the second half, that's pretty encouraging if that has to happen. But obviously I'd like to have them, not, easy wins, I guess you say, right? But they look comfortable. They know what they're doing. And you can see Pochettino and the work the staff's done, is showing, and I think what that means to me is that it's not like the Berhalter era where it was systematic. You had to move, another guy had to move in order for things to work. It's soccer. It's, you react off people's movements. You may have to keep the ball a little longer. But it's their creativity, the players on the field, that then dictate the game, not necessarily the tactics and everything that the coach has set. That's what I hope I see in both these games. So,
all right. Good thoughts, fellas. All right, moving on here. I want to talk about the 2 European games that have now been scheduled for here in the USA. So this is the first time this has ever happened. And any of the domestic leagues in Europe, they've always played in their home countries, right? So Villarreal and Barcelona are actually coming here to the USA. They're going to play in Miami in December. That is a league game. And then in February, AC Milan and Como are going to be playing in Australia. So sorry if I misspoke there. Listen, I'll give you my thoughts in a minute on this. I heard a little rumbling of some of the players as well and their thoughts. But Dylan, what are your thoughts on European league games coming to the USA and being played, and then into Australia, but being played outside of their home countries?
I guess soccer's becoming football, right? The NFL is
NFL?
over in England and in Germany and stuff. So it's taken a page out of that book. Obviously, selfishly, I think it's awesome that they're coming and playing games here. Like, everybody wants to see Barcelona. They didn't get to see them at the Club World Cup. So the idea of them coming to Miami, it will be a sellout. I can almost guarantee it. And that's cool. That's cool. I think for the American fan, that's a selfishly awesome thing.
Yes.
But I also think that we are probably getting pretty close to some form of CBA or some form of players union amongst the European teams. Because I don't know how many games and how much travel these guys can realistically continue to do without there being repercussions. I mean, the injury lists for like teams like Chelsea that played in the Club World Cup were already really long. I think I saw something today that the Brazilian Newcastle boys, Joelinton and Guimarães, went on a like marathon of flights, like 20 something hours to get to Brazil. And that's already like, I mean, this is the risk that you're taking when you're talking about travel to Australia and Miami from Spain and Italy. So I think we're getting close to a breaking point between the players and their respective leagues, because it's been boiling over.
That's a great point. Brooks, you want to throw some thoughts in there?
Yeah, so I think the European players have a union, those clubs.
Okay.
I don't think it's as strong as like what we have here, like versus like, how many, like in the CBA, it's like, like when you do marketing stuff, you have so many appearances until you have to get paid or, or whatnot. I don't know how, if it's that, rigid in Europe. It doesn't seem that way because they're kind of letting them just be like, you got to do this, you got to do that. You know what I mean? So, it's becoming NFL for sure, and college football is over, like there's always a game in Ireland they play, and at Hampden Park or whatnot, over or where Celtic play. So it's just becoming a thing. People want to see it. I mean, I agree, Dylan, no doubt that it would be sold out when Villarreal and Barcelona come to Miami. I wonder if they're going to play that in Inter Miami Stadium or they'll play that in Hard Rock Cafe to try to sell it as many as they can, and get as much money as they can. But this is definitely a money grab, and it's just unfortunately how it's going to be. If a team came to Chicago and it was affordable, and I would go for sure. But it's just how it's going to be. And I know fans are going to be upset. I know Craig's got the standpoint since he's a Villa fan. He doesn't want to see Villa. And I know he's talked to a lot of people in Europe, his friends and family. They don't like this idea of European clubs moving potentially big time matches away from your home stadium. And it's a special thing, right? Like, I'm sure Man U and Man City don't want to see that derby be moved to like New York or something, because like that's a special thing for the fans because you only see it twice a year, right? Unless you're playing each other in some other cup game in the league, a European Cup game or something. So, but it's unfortunate, it is what it is. I hope they just don't overdo it and they get these players with, like you said, the travel and everything. It doesn't exhaust them and injuries happen and all this stuff,
Yeah, it's the reason obviously is to expand the brand. All these clubs, they want to expand their brand into other areas, and that's what the summer is for. That's what the summer has become. It's become going on those tours to expand your brand, and now it's expanding into the leagues, and that is, I get it. It's a business, but it's the fans, the home fans that go every single game that you're really challenging now. Right. Like as you mentioned, Brooks, I got a lot of family who go to the Villa games. And if all of a sudden Aston Villa versus Manchester United got changed and it's now being played in Miami from Villa Park, Well, that's not a home game for anymore because we all know that that game is going to attract way more Manchester United fans. So it becomes less of a home game, but it's supposed to be a home game, but it got moved. And a lot of people aren't going to be able to travel, the cost of traveling. They already pay a lot of money for their season ticket. Now they got to pay extra money to go see a game. I don't like it. I don't like where it's going. Dylan brings up a phenomenal point that now you're just putting extra wear and tear on the body. Well, they're already playing 50, 60, high 60 games. Sometimes I think even with enough, if a lot of these teams make it through to all the finals, they're going to 70 games in a year. And now they got to put the extra travel on their bodies. That's a bit much. I'm not a fan of this. Serafin, the UEFA president, has come out and said he's not a fan of it. He couldn't stop it, but he's going to do his best to make sure this doesn't happen again. But Dylan brought up another great point. Selfishly, as an American fan, yeah, trust me, if this game, the Villarreal-Barcelona game, was happening here in Michigan or in Chicago, which is close to us, I may well have bought a ticket, have gone, even though I'm not agreeing with it. But, I don't make these decisions, but I disagree with it, but I'd go watch it if it came.
Yeah. I mean, you saw last year Serie A move one of their small tournaments into Saudi Arabia. They moved one of their cup tournaments. I mean, maybe if you play for sure, it's a money thing. It's a money grab for sure. But I mean, maybe like a Community Shield match. Maybe they, instead of Wembley, maybe they play that over here. I know that's not really it's you're playing for something. But maybe stuff like that, maybe like every once in a while, a UEFA Champions League final comes to America. I don't know, it's kind of like more special events than just necessary regular season matches. Now, obviously, you paid a lot of money and you want to see that, but you can kind of go you've kind of seen your team throughout the season. We're just going to host this special event, in this one area. That's what I'd like to see them do first, is to make maybe more of those events in America if they can, not every year, but every once in a while.
Yep.
For all leagues, not just EPL, for Serie A, for La Liga and such, and see how that goes. And then you can start trying to test stuff. But this is very quick to move to league matches, to be honest with you. That's a very quick transition.
Agreed.
Yeah.
All right, we got one more topic we're going to talk about here. We're going to talk about, Dylan, we're going to talk about your Manchester United.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the manager. We're going to talk about the owner. We got a couple of other things we want to get to there as well. And you know what? We're going to do that right after this.
Hi, Brooks. We're at our favorite store, Soccer World in Rochester. We're just going to do some light shopping. Okay. Nothing big. Ooh, pretty colors. Oh, and one of these too?
Ooh, Germany. Nate would like this.
Hey, Brooks, look at all these. Look what I got.
South America. Ooh, wow, that's not MLS. Cool.
Socks? No.
Ooh, a ball pump.
Next to line.
Sir, you're next.
Right. That's a mannequin, you know that.
Huh?
It's a mannequin.
Oh. Sorry, sir.
Craig, what are you doing?
Nothing.
Huh?
All right, big thank you to our sponsors. They really do help us out. They keep us going. Thank you to Soccer World, soccerworld.net for all of your soccer gear needs. Big thank you to Next Level Training. They are the best trainers in the country. There's a reason the professionals from around the country travel to here in Detroit, and it's because of Next Level Training. Thank you to the Michigan Jaguars, Michigan Jaguars FC.com for more information on that awesome club that my kids play for. Big thank you to the football doc, Dr. Zachary Atwood. If you've been injured recently or you want to do some baseline testing, hit up the football doc, Dr. Zachary Atwood. And last but not least, big thank you to our favorite beer sponsor, Dog Pony Show Brewing. We really appreciate them. We go down and have a couple of beers every once in a while at Dog Pony Show Brewing in Oak Park. All right, listen. One of my pastimes I like to tell people is I watch soccer and all that, but I love to rag on Manchester United when they're not doing so well. Dylan, all right, give it to me straight. How's the season been going? What are your thoughts about Amarin, Ratcliffe, and the rest? I'll open the floor up and let you have at it, buddy.
Jekyll and Hyde, huh? Like a team that just decides that one game they'll play all right, then the next game they will be the worst team on planet Earth, and there's no in between. And that's awesome. Super enjoyable as a fan to walk into every match and think, well, this is going to be fun. I know my friends are thinking that. All of my friends that love to rag on me. And honestly, it's fair. You know, United had their glory run for as long as they did. And equally, you now get to rag on United for being as crappy as they are. Because that makes sense. That is how human nature works.
Dylan, I got to be honest. I'm very disappointed. I was hoping you'd come in like they are the best club ever. We're just down. We're right back at it. And you're a realist, my friend.
I am a realist, unfortunately. I think it's enough pain and suffering. Like, look, I'm 26, so the glory days, and as an American fan, you understand it. Watching games was not easy when we were awesome. So I've watched a lot of really awful football for most of my adulthood here, and so it's more pain. I think, it's just a suffering thing. And at this point, my manager just wants me to suffer, so I might as well just enjoy it. Right.
All right. So tell me about the manager, Ruben Amorim. Where are your thoughts right now? Because it's come out this week that Jim Ratcliffe has said he wants him to see the full entirety of the 3-year contract through. He doesn't want to pass judgment on Ruben Amorim until the 3-year contract is up. We are a year into that, so that means he's got 2 years left. Where are you at right now? Because I'm going to read off some stats real quick. He's been in charge for 50 games. He's won 19. That's a 38% win rate. In the league, there's 33 games, 9 wins, 17 losses, 7 draws. That's a 27% win rate, 34 points. Goals scored, 38. Goals conceded, 53. Where are you at right now? If you are taking over the club tomorrow, are you wielding that axe, or are you saying, I want to see you through for the next 2 years here, buddy?
Oh, well, good baseball stats, right? Batting 300. I don't know. It's tough. I actually like Ruben Amorim as a person and as a manager in terms of like just the realism. Like, I think that he's very much in that Ralph Ragnick style of like, I'm going to tell you how it is. You might not like it, but I'm going to tell you. And I respect that level of honesty. Numbers they just don't lie at a certain point. And I've lost faith in the idea that he can right the ship. And so personally for me, and the way that I've looked at United is I try not to get too high or too low at any given point. And so for me, I don't really care if he's there or not. And that's a worse position to be in than if I actually cared. So like, yeah, he could stay for the rest of the season as so long as we don't get relegated. It would mean no different to me than if we sacked him now and we just start the carousel over again.
Sure.
So I don't really know. It's such a devastating feeling when I sit here and I go, I just shrug my shoulders and I give up a little bit. It's deflating for sure.
That is probably the best explanation I've heard when I put that question to United fans. All right, I got one more question about it, about United and your club. Jim Ratcliffe, Sir Jim Ratcliffe,
right?
He was brought in. He bought in. I actually think my theory is he somehow finagled his way in, and the Saudi Arabian fella, whose long name I cannot remember,
Jazz,
something like that.
You're right.
I think Jim Ratcliffe somehow finagled his way into the Glazers and said, "You don't need this guy, you need me. I'm a Manchester United fan forever." And I think there was some ploys going on there. He did some background stuff, and the best move they could have done was get that Saudi Arabian guy and his money. Jim Ratcliffe, I'm sorry, I'm going to throw this on the screen right now, is an absolute loser. Now, is it just Manchester United? No, it's not. What a lot of people don't realize is he actually took over the Sky Sports cycling team in 2019. And prior to that, the Sky Sports cycling team, which competed in the Tour de France, the Tour de Italy, the Tour de Belgium, and all the tours across Europe, was phenomenal. They were winners. They had won multiple tours in the 2010s. He took over in 2019. The team has fallen apart. Look, there's cultural problems within the team. There's a high number of turnover of coaches and recruitment policy it's bad. It's baffling people within the sport what he is doing. He has the highest paid rider, a double Olympic gold medal winning mountain biker in 2020 and 2024, describing himself as frazzled over the future of this team. Since assuming control of the Sky team, recruitment has been arguably Ineos, the name of the team is Ineos Grenadiers, biggest weakness. Does that sound familiar to you?
Yeah. Loser is a good term for Mr. Ratcliffe, because that's ultimately what's followed him. Like, you can even go back to Nice, right? Nice haven't been successful since he took over. Yep. I don't know if he has an F1 team or is a part of an F1 team, but I think he might, and I don't think they're very good. Oh, it's so tough. For owners, I don't want them to be involved very much. If I had to say anything, I think when your owner gets involved, it's a bad look.
Yep.
I think he did it for commercial gain. I do. Being able to go and get Manchester United at the price that he got Manchester United is a steal. And the Glazers I think they've wanted out for a little bit now, and I think they're waiting for someone to blow the doors open to completely sell. The question is, can he either find the funds to do it, or are they going to have to go back into the market? But selling a team like Manchester United is a big thing, and you can't do it overnight. So this feels like the drop in the pond, climatizing yourself to this situation. I would have loved for the Prince to come in and save United, because he would have spent as much money as guys like City and Newcastle have and revamped the team.
Yeah, and he's tried to. No, don't get me wrong. He spent a lot of money, right, in the windows, but I think he picked the wrong people to lead the club, and that's not just the manager, it's the executives. I think they've gone out and picked the wrong players to spend money on. I mean, we can go down the list of Højlund, Zerke, just players, Onana, right? Players that weren't needed, players that were overvalued. I think that, honestly, you nailed it. He bought the club for commercial reasons. He's making money out of the club, by the way. He makes the Glazers look like good owners, in my opinion. And that's tough to do, because they've neglected the club and taken so much money out of that club in their ownership that it is incredible. Until this man leaves your club, I don't think any winning actually happens. I just don't see it turning around under his stewardship. And if your theory is right, that he's come in and he's waiting for to turn things around a little bit and convince the Glazers to sell to him, that could be probably the worst thing ever for the club. And it's getting so bad, sorry to go on a rant here, that I'm actually feeling really sorry and bad for my friends like yourself, who are Manchester United fans, who are having to it sucks. I hate it for my friends. I love that Manchester United sucks, but I don't want them to be that bad that my friends are all really unhappy. So,
Fair. When your hate turns to pity, that's not a good sign of where the club's at for a lot of different reasons.
I'm on his Wikipedia page. I was just curious about his business career. So he's actually a chemical engineer, and he got his degree from the University of Birmingham. Mm-hmm. It says here, after graduating, Ratcliffe worked at the oil firm BP, but was fired after 3 days. So, man, you just get out of college and you're fired. And then he's been in the oil business and energy business and whatnot. But it just, I don't know, a guy like that, bringing him into sport to run stuff, there's just some people that don't understand how can be innovative and think outside the box because they're numbers and they only see things certain ways. I feel like that's him. And he just sees money. And when you work in oil, you tend to see money very, very much. So
he's a businessman who pretends to care about the fans and care about the club. And I really don't think he does. He cares about lining his own pocket. Yeah. And there's a lot of things we can go back and say what he's done. Dylan, all right, let's kind of wrap this up a little bit. Manchester United, where do they finish out the season? And do you expect Sir Jim Ratcliffe to hold to the comments he made this week of, I would like, I'm going to see Ruben Amorim through in his contract. So where do they finish, and does Ruben Amorim keep his job through the contract?
Oh, that's tough. I want to say top 8, right? I think there's enough talent within the side to get top 8. The question is, can they string together wins? They haven't proven to do that under Ruben Amorim. The chances of them stringing together a ton of losses before a ton of wins is more likely. At this point, I thought since the Grimsby match, I thought he was a dead man walking. I thought his comments since then have been kind of like, I don't really give a crap. I'm just going to see it out. So, look, I'd love for Ruben Amorim to figure it out and us to go on this crazy winning streak and finish top 8. And then I'm like this happy, giddy United fan again. Realistically, the chances of that happening are not high. We haven't won 2 games in a row under him. So how could I sit here and be like, yeah, he's going to keep his job? No, eventually, this was just for me, these comments from him were just like a pressure release valve a little bit. Like, there's so much pressure on him right now. We're in this international break. We're going to at least now have to keep him until the next one. So let's just pump the brakes here. Let's release a little bit of pressure. And he figures it out. You look like a genius. And if he doesn't figure it out, you're just a politician. You just say something that you were lying about. You know what I mean? Like,
it's a good thought. I like it. I like it.
I guess the question that I'll point back to you guys, because I don't have an answer for it, would be if you were to think of anybody that would take over for United as the manager, like, is there any thoughts? Because I always fall into that line of like, I just don't know.
You mean manager wise?
Yeah.
Sam Allardyce.
Yeah, Big Sam. Yeah, throw him in there. Whenever there's a sacking, it's Big Sam gets up on the bookies boards and he's in there. Honestly, though, I think United missed out on Nuno Espirito Santo. I thought he would be a phenomenal hire. And obviously now he's gone to West Ham. The Graham Potter was sacked there. I think he would be good, but there's 2 others, and I don't see it happening during the season. It would need to be in the summer, and that is Glasner at Crystal Palace, who has done a sensational job with Crystal Palace. I mean, they were unbeaten in the league in 12 straight games. It finally took Everton a last-minute goal this past Sunday to beat them 2-1. So Glasner, with essentially no one on his roster, a couple of players here and there, but has done a great job. And then Iriola at Bournemouth. Yeah. I think those 2 managers have proven they can do it in the Premiership. They've proven they can do it with very little money. They can go in there, they can take what's already there and turn it around, right? So I think those 2 guys, they are not going to leave the clubs that they are at in the middle of the season here. So maybe see Ruben Amorim out at the last day of the season. See you later. Not good enough. And listen, United are a top 5, need to be a Champions League team every year. That's the minimum for Manchester United. Anything outside of that is losing. So if they don't make top 4, and they're not going to make top 4, they need to say last day of season, see you later, and go hit up one of those 2 guys, because I think that would be their best way forward. So that's what I got for you on that one.
Yeah. I don't know if I have, I think the ones Craig listed, honestly, are probably the ones. I mean, I don't see the Brighton manager moving to German. I don't think that's too much of a jump for him. He hasn't done enough. You get him into Europe or whatever. But even then, I love the guys that are like, oh, we got him in Europe, we're good. We weren't supposed to do it. And then they get the big contract and then they just epically fail, at the next club, the bigger club they go to, because they're not ready for that. No, I think the Bournemouth coach is an interesting one. And then I agree with Craig. They missed out on Nuno. My buddy tells me that because George Mendes is good friends with the guys at West Ham. And I think he told me, I think he was one of George Mendes's first clients as a player, Nuno, that's the reason why he ended up at West Ham. So,
wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So.
All right, Dylan, I really appreciate you joining us, man. Brooks and I have a phenomenal time. We got to do this again very soon.
Heck yeah.
For everybody watching, do us a huge favor. Give the C.O.C network a follow. Go ahead and watch a bunch of their stuff. Follow them. Subscribe to their channel. It would make us very happy. But Dylan, man, it's great to talk to someone like yourself, and we got to do some more collaborations. We have to.
Heck yeah. It was a pleasure. Thank you guys for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
We'll do it again soon. All right, boys. Cheers.
Cheers.